One of the advantages of getting old is
you get to reminisce about things long ago. And it came to me that I remember 50 years ago this fall, I was finishing up my degree at the University of Michigan in actuarial mathematics. And I had to take 3 more credits of math. I had all the actuarial courses, but I needed 3 more, and it had to be some advanced level course. So somehow I settled in on linear algebra. It seemed like something to do with vectors. It seemed like a good idea at the time. So in that class, there was this young woman. Her name was Louise, and I knew her because approximately 6 months after that, she got married to Karen's brother. So she was my future sister-in-law. And we lived near each other, and we were both in this class, and she's extremely bright, so I had the great idea that I would suggest that we studied together. So we got together and studied, we went to class, we studied, read the homework and stuff. And Louise and I sat for 1, 2 weeks, however many weeks it is before you can drop a course and get out unscathed, you know. And we sat in this fog bank. We would sit there and look at each other and say, "Do you understand this?" No, I don't. Don't you? So Louise wasn't graduating that semester, so she dropped the course because she didn't want to have a really low grade on her grade point. I had to at least get a passing grade. I had no choice. Otherwise, it was another semester in school. And, I would have been hard time, so I would have been drafted before. Anyway, I had to pass it. Well, the week after Louise dropped the course, I was sitting there, and I went, "Oh, really? Is that what it means? I get it. I get it." I called the police and said, "You dropped the course too fast. I can explain it to you." I went on to an easy A in linear algebra. Don't ask me anything about linear algebra 50 years later. Don't ask me anything about linear algebra 15 minutes after I got the grade. But it wasn't a moment, it occurred to me, of epiphany. We are in the epiphany season. Pastor Mark has been using the definition of the manifestation, the divine manifestation for epiphany, Jesus being revealed to us. But there's another definition. It's a sudden, penetrating insight, understanding. Such was the moment in the temple in Jerusalem. Now, we have been tracking Jesus through this Epiphany season, and we've had him baptized, and then John the Baptist testifying, and him moving from Nazareth to Capernaum, all at the beginning of his ministry as an adult. And the good old people who put a lectionary together just took us totally back. He's a little baby again. Luke is the only gospel that gives us the circumcision of Jesus after 8 days of the naming, followed by today's story of the presentation in the temple, and then followed by Jesus appearing in the temple at 12 years old. It's the only place we get it is in the Gospel of Luke. But today's story unfolds as I sort of told it to the children. Joseph and Mary are behaving in typical Jewish fashion, like any other 20-something couple with a firstborn child. Karen said something on the way over to Vail today, and I said back to her, and I said, there could have been 10,000 parents there in the temple doing this on the same day. We don't know. It's just they were there. They brought him all the way to Jerusalem, to the temple, the only temple. And they were following the Jewish law. You heard it. How many times did the gospel say, the law of the Lord, the law according to Moses? When they'd done everything that was required, they brought him because Mary was now purified from having given birth. So there was an offering for that. They brought him because the law of Moses said the firstborn should be dedicated to God. Literally, in their thinking, they were handing the child over to God, then they were giving an offering of 2 turtle doves, and they got to take the baby home. That was the law. Faithful Jewish parents. And then into the scene comes Simeon and Anna. 2 people, older people who've been hanging around the temple all their life. Very religious, very devout. And Simeon gets this total epiphany moment of seeing the entire picture. In fact, if you read the words, I would submit that Simeon is the very first person in the whole world that ever understood God's complete plan of salvation through Jesus. Mary was pondering things in her heart. When Simeon says to her, "A sword will pierce your heart," did you think that she knew at that point exactly what that was going to mean for her years down the road? I seriously doubt it. Simeon and Anna are the very first people to get it, fully and completely understanding Jesus and what he was going to be. Now, Simeon was going to see the Messiah, and I think that most of the people who were waiting for the Messiah were waiting for what? We heard it in the hymns. They were waiting for a king, a mighty warrior, smoke those Romans, get out from under all of this oppression. So Simeon's in the temple, and here comes this baby. I kind of imagine a Bill Cosby thing here. You know, Simeon having a conversation with God. And a baby? Really? I was looking for somebody a bit more robust and mature. I'm kind of old. I mean, it'll be years before this guy grows up. But that's not what we get. Simeon just, without question, breaks into this song. It's unfortunate the way our bulletins are printed that we can't see this the way it's actually in a Bible. Pick up a Bible and read this. You can see it in quotes buried in here, but it'll be set separately, like a hymn. Master, now you are dismissing your servant in peace according to your word, for my eyes have seen your salvation. Scholars actually think it was a hymn. It was an early Christian hymn that Luke picked up and put in here, in these words of Simeon. But is there any doubt that it's a complete understanding and acceptance of everything, not just what the Jewish people were expecting? And then Anna comes along and echoes the same theme. We don't get any words from Anna, but she's a prophetess also. And she's praying and telling people what all of this means. It's a very heartwarming moment, isn't it? These people have been sitting around the temple for years waiting. The Holy Spirit told Simeon that he would not die before he saw the Messiah. What a heartwarming moment. Wow. Great. So what? Do we really need this story? It's nice. We never see Simeon and Anna again. We don't know what they did or how long they lived after that. So what? What does it mean? There's 100 other places in the Bible we can learn that Jesus was more than the Jewish Messiah, that he was here for the whole world. Luke's the only one who bothers with the story. I sit down now. That's what I got out of it. I did a lot of reading. I didn't get much more depth than that. I mean, there's some scholars that go off into some esoteric things about the whole thing that would bore you and me, so we're not going to go there. But so what? Why do we have a Paschal candle now? I asked the children this question. What color do we have? It's supposed to be green, isn't it? Why did you put white on the altar, Mary?
Because it's a feast day.
Oh, because it's a feast day. Not just because it was white on the calendar, right? It's a feast day. The church makes a big deal out of this day. And your deacon stands there and says, so what? Why do we need this story? It's kind of touching, but why does the church make such a big deal? Church has made a huge deal out of it over the centuries. This, for those of us like me who grew up Baptist, and for anybody else who isn't a cradle Episcopalian, is a book of common prayer. This is a good book of common prayer because I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little black line down there. They handed me one in Vail that was just purely white and never been opened. What page do you think that little black line starts on? Any of you? 355, the beginning of communion. You never see it because we print it all in here. So you don't have to turn the page. But I've noticed in any Episcopal church I've been there, there's very dirty pages there on 355. So Thomas Cranmer wrote this, or pulled this together in the 16th century. And if you do choose to open one, if you go to page 51, you'll see the words that are printed on the cover of your bulletin, the right one language for the Song of Simeon. If you go to page 93, you'll see the words that sound a bit more like the Gospel reading today, which is the right two version. If you go somewhere in the 130s, you'll find a service called Compline, which is the evening service. You've probably never been to Compline unless you've been on a Curcio weekend or an Episcopal retreat. Probably Sherry or Jeff have been on one of those. It's at 9 o'clock at night. It's the last prayer service of the evening. The canticles is what they're called. The canticles on 51 and 93 in that section are used in morning and evening prayer. They're even used in daily devotions. This week I sat with somebody, we were doing some prayers at a bedside. This person turned right to the daily devotions and said, I like this prayer here. Can we do this? And I said, gee, you use this on a daily basis. That was what the people did. Daily, morning, evening prayer. But Thomas Cranmer didn't invent this. We know from studying that Thomas Cranmer had some ancient worship materials that had come down to him. The monastic tradition, the monks that went off in the desert with their morning and evening and however many prayers, surely used these same canticles, including the Song of Simeon. So Cranmer probably picked that up. He did not just make this thing out of his own imagination. So this Song of Simeon that Luke bedded in there has been a feast day, has been used numerous, millions and millions of time in prayer. And I really, if you want to take one of these home, please do. Somewhere around 1:35 is the Compline service. It ends beautifully, beautifully with the Song of Simeon, flanked by an antiphon that I tried to go from memory in Vail and say, and I don't want to do it here, but it's beautiful. And it's interesting with Carl here today that I also found out that our Lutheran brethren use the Song of Simeon. They call it, and it is titled that in the prayer book, Nunc dimittas. It's Latin for now dismiss. And they use it in a very interesting way. They use it in a lot of ways in different services. But one way they use it on Sunday morning, or in any Eucharist service, is as the prayer after communion. Can you imagine? I'm just thinking about that, how it would impact me. You've come to the altar, come near to Christ, you've received the sacrament of his body and blood. And you say, Lord, now lettest thou thy servant depart in peace according to thy word. For mine eyes have seen thy salvation. Just like Simeon, I've seen your complete plan of salvation. I have all that I need. I hadn't thought of those words juxtaposed with the communion, in fact. And it just hit me hard. It hit me very hard. Someone said to me, oh, well, yes, this guy got what he wanted to see and then he went and died. That's what these words mean. Well, yes, we do use them, as Carl has said, in the service of death also. But if you leave it right there with Simeon in that narrow context, I think you're missing something tremendously living. These are living words. And so what I would like to do today, the reason I had Margie put these on the cover of the bulletin is, this is my gift to you. These words are my gift to you. And I ask you to take them with you and pray them, reflect on them. The question I ask myself is, how comfortable am I saying what Simeon said? Mine eyes have seen no thy salvation. I know your entire plan for me, Lord. I know what you want me to do. I know how you want me to treat other people. How comfortable are you with these words? And if you take them home and pray with them and sit with them and reflect with them, you get comfortable with that? What a beautiful thing to say after communion. Send me out in peace now, Lord. I have all that I need. All that I need. And I understand it. I don't think my linear algebra moment was an epiphany moment. There were a lot of prerequisites to be taking that class, so I had some math background. I was studying hard, and I finally got it. And I think that's where all of us are also. We're not coming to this totally without any preparation. We have done it, but I think these words can focus us on the task at hand. How great to be able to say, let me go out this door in peace. I have all that I need.